What's good, y'all? Your boy just came back in town, and I took an 8-hour train ride from Los Angeles to Sacramento to discover the beat culture out there, link up with some homies to cook up, and even took a trip to San Francisco to see how they get down out there. So with all that being said, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And here's how it went down. So before anything, we gotta talk about the journey to Sacramento. I bought a train ticket through Amtrak, which was about $118, and it was gonna be an 8-hour ride to get there. So fast forward, your boy had to get dropped off at the Los Angeles Union Station, where I then caught a bus to Bakersfield. That bus ride was about an hour and a half, and it was pretty cool. I saw some pretty nice sights, got to cook up, and somebody on the side of me saw me cooking up, and we exchanged Instagrams. He might be watching this video, I don't know. But from Bakersfield, I took a train ride, which was about 4.5 hours to Stockton. On that train ride, I was able to cook up, catch up on some sleep, and prepare my set that I was gonna be playing that night. 4.5 hours later, your boy's in Stockton, where I had to catch my last bus ride to Sacramento. The bus ride was pretty cool, besides this one dude who was just yapping. He was in Yap City. The dog was musty as hell. So it was a little bit of an unpleasant ride, but I'm not about to bash. Your boy's nose was burning. So once I got to Sac, DB picked me up, where I then had to go check into my room, and from my room, we went down to the Shady Lady. Now, the Shady Lady is a bar that DiBiase has been hosting events at every Wednesday now for a few months, and he's been telling me that I had to get out the Sac to experience it. Once people started coming through the doors and music was playing, I saw exactly why he was telling me I needed to get out there. The vibe was just right. The Shady Lady was a dark place. It was cool, chill, laid back, but the thing that caught my attention the most was that people was getting up on stage and rapping on the spot. Some people freestyling, some people going off their phone, some people going up on stage multiple times. You know, they catch an idea, they catch a flow, and they go up on stage, let it out. So it was pretty nice to experience that. Overall, it was a dope experience. It kind of felt nice to, see some familiar faces, as well as some people that recognize me from the channel that's been wanting to say what's up. So yeah, fast forward to the next day, and I gotta go down to 12 Wax Records. This was my first time being in this record shop, and once I walked through the doors, the first thing that I noticed was the wall of speakers. Now, some of you guys might recognize this record shop if you watch DiBiase's streams. Sometimes he's cooking up, and behind him is a wall of speakers. The vibe of the record store was pretty nice as well. They had a spot for you to listen to the records. They had all kinds of records, and of course, DB was in the back just playing music. While DiBiase was doing his regular DB flip sessions, I decided to go out with the homies and get some food in the area. Once we got back though, we kind of did our own take on rhythm roulette. DB had the wise idea for us to get blindfolded, walk through the record shop, grab one record, and flip it within, I believe, 30 or 40 minutes. So we decided to do that and live streamed it on DB's channel. But it was also dope because before we cooked up, I got to get some inspiration from my little cousin, K-Jax, when she started playing her beats on an Ovation circuit. Check it out. Now at this point, we had been at the record shop for, I would say, 3-4 hours now. So it's time to get out, and we decided to go down to the homie Bap Notes home studio.
Go. Alright. Okay, so you gonna record me playing the drums? Yeah.
I went down to Bap Notes studio with the LA homies while DB stayed behind at the record shop and packed up. But once I got to his home studio, your boy was blown away. All around me was instruments, records, synthesizers, a drum set. He even had a Rhodes, and you guys know how I am on the keys. So your boy was glued to that Rhodes the whole session. I'm not even gonna lie, your boy was glued to the Rhodes the whole session. But we got to cook up. Me and the LA homies got to cook up with the homie Bap Notes. Me and Bap was, going back and forth on keys and music theory and chord voicings and stuff. What do you want, Krishan? You want some R&B?
I want some R&B, some deep chord type. Okay.
it was pretty nice to experience that because, you know, it's not too often that I get to just geek out over chords and music theory. I'm usually surrounded by these four walls, just in my own space, you feel me? But the vibes was phenomenal. I felt like I was in Wonderland, and eventually DB came through. We cooked up some more beats, and yeah, man, that lasted a few hours as well. So at this point, it's like 11:30, 12 at night. So me and DB dipped, went and grabbed some In-N-Out, and I knocked out for that day. So fast forward to the next day, Friday, and we really didn't have too much planned out till later on in the day. So DB showed me around some thrift stores, downtown Sacramento. We also went to a guitar center. I picked up a new mic, which is the mic I'm using right now, which is the Shure SM57. Just, you know, an entry-level mic if you're trying to get serious. And we really just killed time, you know? So fast forward to about 4 p.m., and we had to link up with the homie Mons Rock. Some of you guys might know Mons Rock if you participate in Flip a Beat Club. But we eventually get to his home studio, and once I walked through the doors, it was like entering Wonderland all over again. But instead of instruments, it was samplers. He had all kinds of MPCs, SPs, samplers, records. And at this point, I was just thinking to myself, like, man, I gotta get my setup looking right, dog. Because I had never saw Mons Rock's or Bap Notes studios. I knew them already, but I didn't know that they setups looked like this. So at this point, I'm just thinking to myself, yo, I really got to get my setup right. I got to get my record collection up. It was really just inspiring to see other people's setups and, you know, how they personalize their studios. While we were at Mons Rock's home studio, we was also waiting for the LA homies to link up with us so we can hit the road to San Francisco. But we had some time to spare, so DB decided to cook up on the Ableton Move just to show us how fast he can come up with ideas on the Ableton Move using his technique called sustained parameter chopping. So eventually all the homies came through and we had to hit the road. This was gonna be my first time going to San Francisco, so I was pretty excited and really didn't know what to expect. So fast forward to about an hour and a half later, and we're in San Francisco. It was my first time seeing the Golden Gate Bridge. I also saw Alcatraz, and it was just a trip because I've been living in LA my whole life, and to a lot of people that's not in LA, you know, you got places like the Hollywood sign, Melrose, the Santa Monica Pier, all these different places that, you know, people heard of on the internet but never saw in person, so it might be special to them. So to go out to San Francisco and see all these different landmarks and buildings and experience a different vibe and culture was really just like a culture shock for me because, you know, like I said, I've been in LA my whole life. All these different areas, they're just different subsections of LA. And at this point, I was realizing I need to get out the house and see the world more. So eventually we got to the spot where we're gonna be performing at, and it took us about 20 minutes to find parking. But once we were all parked up, we went down to the spot called Neck of the Woods. Now this spot was also just another place with a unique vibe. The culture was nice, the people were nice. Some people even recognized me out there thanks to this YouTube channel. So if you guys are watching this video, shout out to you guys. The vibes was right, the music was nice, and they even had cats in the back playing Street Fighter. Towards the end of the show was when me and the LA homies were going to perform. So we all decided to do a LA beat cypher. It was me, Kershawn the Don, Naja Head, the homie Quentin, and DB. And we all did a beat cypher, playing one beat at a time, just responding to each other. Now that was also a lot of fun, and we were up on stage for about an hour just playing our beats. And during our time on stage, some people also came up to rap and spit a few bars, but it was nothing like compared to the Shady Lady. But once the show ended, we walked back to the car, and thankfully, the window was not busted open, and we decided to get some pizza. Fast forward about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, we're back in Sacramento. I'm back in my room, and I just need to catch some Z's. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning at this point. So the boy had to catch some Z's. On the next day, which is Saturday, it was my last day out here. So we kind of just played it chill. Me and DB went down to 12 Wax Records again because I had to do my Saturday stream. So this time, we decided to do a little sparring session. Me and DB cooked up a few collab beats, and then we kind of had our own personal sample challenge. If you guys want to see that stream, make sure you go and check it out. It's on my channel, it's up. And yeah, if you guys want to see me do sparring sessions with DB a lot more, let me know down in the comment section and we'll start doing that. But we streamed for about 2.5 hours, dope vibes as well. You know, it's been a minute since I cooked up with Unk in person, and it's been a minute since we did a sparring session. So once we ended the stream, DB had been telling me about this one spot called Music Landria, and he was talking about how you could take old equipment that you're not using and trade it in for something that's worth equal value. Now, I didn't really get the idea, but once he took me to the spot, I saw exactly what he was talking about. There was tables full of guitar pedals, different samplers. He was showing me the gear that he had traded in. They also had synthesizers, old keyboards, guitars, bass guitars. They even had some Chinese instruments up in there. It was really just an economy of music equipment that needed to be used. So next time I go out to Sacramento, I'm definitely about to pack up my cassette deck, maybe a guitar pedal that I'm not using, and see what I can get from there. While we was there, DB had to turn in a turntable that he wasn't using no more, and he got him some gear, but since the gear that he got wasn't really worth as much as the turntable's worth, I was able to get myself a cassette deck that's slightly newer than the one that I have now. So that was just really dope to experience, the fact that I came out that place with new gear. Another thing about Music Landria is that they told me that you can pay 30 bucks and you can go into the creative room. I forgot what it's called, but they have a room where it's just a holy grail of equipment, and you can just spend the day there cooking up beats, cooking up music. And I just thought to myself, like, yo, I can really make a whole sample pack in this joint with some top of the level equipment or even some vintage equipment. So I don't know, your boy might have to take a trip back out to Sacramento and drop the 30 bucks just to go cook up. But fast forward, this was a pretty chill day. We didn't have too much planned. He just showed me around Sacramento a little bit more. We got some grub, talked about a few things, and then, yeah, man, I was back at the room around 10 o'clock, 10:30, and the next day I had to depart. So on Sunday, DB dropped me off at the train station in Sacramento, where I then took a bus ride to Stockton, took a train ride from Stockton to Bakersfield, and took a bus ride from Bakersfield back to LA. This trip was super dope. It was really inspirational as well, just because I got to see the beat culture in different areas, and that alone really inspired me to just travel more and see what the beat culture is like in different cities. So if you guys want me in your city because you think the beat scene is pretty dope out there, let me know down in the comments, and you might just see me out there one day. With all that being said, you guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and also make sure that you guys check out my latest beat tape that I released with DiBiase called Of Age. It's our first ever collab tape, and it's on all streaming platforms. So make sure you check that out, give it a listen, maybe even cop it on Bandcamp. But with all that being said, y'all, your boy's about to get out of here. Peace out.